T naught, but it is not T1. So every T1 topological space is T naught, but a T naught space need not be a T1 space. Okay. The next theorem is, it's also one of the very important results for a space to be a T1 space, that a topological space Xt is a T1 space if and only every singleton subset of X is closed. X is the whole set, E is a topology on X, and this topological space is T1 if and only for every element the singleton set is closed. Okay, so first we are assuming that every singleton set is closed. Means if any element X is considered, then singleton X is a closed set. And now we have to prove that it is a T1 space. For that we are considering two distinct elements X and Y. Then according to hypothesis, singleton X and singleton Y both are closed. And hence X minus singleton X, it's open set. And now it is complement of singleton X, so it does not contain singleton X, but it contains Y. And similarly, if we will consider X minus singleton Y, then since singleton Y is closed, so X minus singleton Y is open, and this set contains X but not Y. So we are having two open sets, one is X minus singleton X, other is X minus singleton Y. One contains X not Y, and other contains Y not X. So the condition for a space being a T1 space is satisfied, and hence this topological space is T1. Now on the converse part, assume that the topological space is T1. Okay, and we have to prove that every singleton set is closed. For this, let X be any arbitrary member of X. Now for any Y belonging to X, if Y is not equal to X, then according to the definition, there will exist two open sets, Gx and Gy, one containing X not Y, other containing Y not X. So we will select Gy. We will have an open set Gy that will contain Y but not X. Okay, it means Gy intersection singleton X is an empty set, and if Gy intersection singleton X is an empty set, so Gy and singleton X, these are contained in complement of the other. So we can say Y is a member of Gy and it is contained in X minus singleton X, because Gy intersection singleton X, it is 5. Okay, this happens for every member Y which is different from X. Means if we will select some other element Z, then we will have the open set Gz and it will be contained in X minus singleton X. Then we will take T, we will have Gt and that will be contained in X minus singleton T. Continuing like this for every member different from X. And then considering their union, on the left hand side, we will have X minus singleton X, because all the members except X are considered. So X minus singleton X, it will be union of all those members which are not equal to X, and it will be contained in all such open sets, and it is further contained in all these are contained in X minus singleton X. So from this we can say that X minus singleton X is the union of all these open sets, and the arbitrary union of open sets is open. Therefore X minus singleton X is an open set. Hence singleton X is a closed set. Okay, the next one, it's a corollary of the previous one. In this, we will prove that a finite topological space is T1 if and only if it is discrete. It is discrete topological space. Okay, all of we know that if the topological space is discrete, then it is T1. One part is obvious. But for the second part, that if the topological space is T1, then it is discrete. Okay, in a discrete space, every possible set is open as well as closed. Okay, and now according to the previous theorem, we know that every singleton set is closed and finite union of closed sets is closed. So if we will consider any set from this topological space, any subset of X, then that very subset can be written as a finite union of singleton sets, because the whole set is also finite as given in the statement. So if the whole set is finite, then any subset of this set is also finite. Let Y is a subset, then Y is a finite subset. Say it is A1, A2, AN. So it can be written as union I from 1 to n singleton AI, and each singleton is closed. So Y is a closed set. Thus we can say that every possible subset of X is closed. And if every possible set is closed, so their complements will be open. Hence, every possible subset is open also. Therefore, X is a set for which every possible subset is open as well as closed. Means it's a distinct topological space. Okay, converse is very simple. We discussed yesterday. Okay, this was we discussed that you will try at home that the property of a space being a T1 space is a topological property and it's a hereditary property. Next one, this term states that sorry. Before starting this, it's a limit point. Yes, sorry. In the next theorem, we are just stating that if a topological space is T1, the topological space is T1. Now a subset A is considered, then some element X is a limit point of A. Okay, a subset, an element X is a subset limit point of A if and only every open set containing X contains infinite number of points of A. That is going on at T1 space is given, a subset is considered, then an element of X is a limit point of A. If and only if we consider any open set which contains X, then that very open set must contain infinite number of elements of A. Means A intersection that open set must be an infinite set. Okay. So a topological space is given which is T1 for X. A is a subset of X. Then an element X, small x, is a limit point of A if and only every open set containing X must contain infinite number of elements of A. Okay. So for the proof, first assume that X is a limit point of A. Now we have to prove that every open set containing X contains infinite number of elements of A. On the contrary, just assume that there is an open set G which contains X and contains a finite number of elements of A. Means A intersection G is a finite set. If it is finite, then G intersection A minus X, it will be a finite set. And if it is finite, say it is having x1, x2, xn, these elements. So it can be written like this, union I from 1 to n, xi. Now, X is a T1 space, so every singleton set is closed. And if every singleton set is closed, then finite union of closed sets is closed. Therefore, this union is a closed set. And now if this is a closed set, then its complement is open. Okay, its complement is open. One more thing, that this union does not contain X because it is obtained by removing X from G intersection A. So this union does not contain sex. It means its complement contains sex. So complement of this union is an open set containing X. G is also an open set containing X. An intersection of two open sets is an open set. Both contain X. So we can say X minus union intersection this G is an open set containing X. Now this is an open set which contains X. And this open set intersection A minus X. This open set intersection A minus X. It can be written as X minus union intersection G intersection A minus X. And G intersection A minus X is union I from 1 to n xi. So it is X minus union I from 1 to n xi intersection this union. And now it is an intersection of a set and its complement. It must be phi. So we are having an open set which contains X and A intersection that open set minus X is phi. It means X is not a limit point of A. A contradiction, because we consider that X is a limit point. Thus, we can say that every open set containing X must contain an infinite number of elements of it. Here we are writing converse is trivial. Why it is trivial? Because if open set contains infinite number of elements of A, then A intersection G, it's an infinite set minus singleton X. Out of the infinite elements, if we removed one, still it is an infinite set. So we can say G intersection A minus X is non-empty. And if it is non-empty, then X is a limit point of A. So converse is genuinely trivial. Okay, next one. In this, we have to show that every topology finer than a T1 topology is also a T1 topology. Finer means every open set. If T star is finer than T, it means every member present in T is also present in T star. And now we are considering T star is finer than T. Now let X and Y be two elements of X. Then since Xt is a T1 topological space, so in T we will have two distinct open sets, one containing X not Y and another containing Y not X. And also these two open sets belongs to T star, as every member present in T is also present in T star. So T star contains two open sets, one containing X not Y and other containing Y not X. So Xt star is also a T1 space. Next one, a T2 topological space or Hausdorff space. We discussed it yesterday also. In this, condition is almost similar to that of T1. But still there is a change. In T1, we were having two distinct open sets, one containing X not Y and other containing Y not X. But here, we will have two disjoint open sets, one containing X and other containing Y. Means in T1 space, it is not mandatory that the intersection of the open sets should be phi. But in T2 space, the intersection of open sets should be phi. Thus, we are having a topological space and this space is known as T2. If for every pair of elements, X and Y, there exist disjoint neighborhoods Gx and Gy, such that Gx intersection Gy should be phi. Okay. Next example is again repeated that a discrete topological space is T2 and indiscrete is not T2. I think you can go through it. The next one. Okay. So these are the characterizations of a T2 space. In this, the first one, that a topological space Xt is a T2 space if and only for all X belonging to X, for all x belonging to x. The intersection of closures of all the neighborhoods of x should be singleton x. What happens? An arbitrary element is considered and we selected all the possible open sets. However, we are discussing about neighborhoods, but let's come to the restricted one. All the possible open sets containing x are selected, and then their closure is obtained. Now the intersection of all these sets, all these closed sets, should be singleton x. This is the property for a space being a T2 space. And we have to prove this. What? A topological space is T2 if and only for any arbitrary x belonging to x, the intersection of closure of all the possible neighborhoods of x should be singleton x. Means all the neighborhoods will have only one element in common. That is x itself. No one else. And for the proof, first assume that this intersection is singleton x. Now we have to prove that the topological space is T2. For that, consider two distinct elements y and x. Now since this intersection is singleton x, it means in this intersection there must be at least one member which does not contain y. Because if all the members contains y, then the whole intersection should contain y. It means in this total family, out of all the possible neighborhoods, there must be at least one member which does not contain y. Say it is ux bar, ux closure. So we are having a neighborhood ux of x such that y does not belongs to ux closure. It means y belongs to x minus ux closure. And now ux closure is closed. So its complement should be open. So we are having an open set which contains y but not x, and one which contains x but not y. And also their intersection is 5. Why? Because x minus ux closure, it is the complement of ux closure. If we will intersect it with ux, then surely it will be 5. Okay, so we are having two disjoint open sets, one containing x and the other containing y. Conversely, assume the space is T2. This time we have to prove that the intersection of closure of all the possible neighborhoods is singleton x. And now for any fixed x, just select an arbitrary element x and then fix it. We will not change this every time. But rest elements will be changed. All the other elements will be considered. So if y is not equal to x, then we will have two disjoint open sets. One is ux star and other is v. Such that x will belong to ux star and y will be a member of v. And their intersection is 5. Now, if their intersection is 5, so can we say that ux star intersection v minus y is 5? Because this intersection is 5. So, minus y is also 5. It means y is not a limit point of ux star. And if it is not a limit point of ux star, also it does not belongs to ux star. So, it does not belongs to ux star closure also. Because in section 1, we proved that A closure is equal to A union derived set of A. So if y is not a limit point of ux star, means it is not a member of derived set. It is not a member of the set itself. So it is not a member of the closure of this set. Means y does not belongs to ux star closure. And this holds for every y. It means we can say that intersection of all the neighborhoods for which y is not equal to x is singleton x. Now, up to this time, we considered only those neighborhoods which are selected corresponding to different elements of x, which are different from small x. Okay. But if we will consider all the possible neighborhoods, then the intersection of closure of all the possible neighborhoods will be a smaller set, and it will be contained in intersection y not equal to x ux bar, ux closure, which is singleton x. But all these neighborhoods contain x, so x is a common part in this, and it is contained in x. So we can say that this intersection is singleton x. The next one, I'm not going to repeat it. We have to just prove that the property of a space being a T2 space is a topological property and it is a hereditary property. You can try it. Next, this time we are going to define that how a sequence converges in a topological space. Okay, so here is the definition that Xt is a topological space and Xn is a sequence in that topological space. We will say that this sequence converges to X. This sequence converges to X if for every open set containing X, X is an element, and now an open set G is considered which contains X, then we must have an integer capital N such that Xn belongs to G for all n greater than n. Means we must have some positive integer such that after that positive integer, all the members of the sequence should be in G, should be the members of G. Okay, so a sequence is said to be convergent to X if for any open set containing X, we must have some positive integer n such that after the nth term, all the possible terms of the sequence should be present in G. Okay. The next one, sequence is said to be convergent if and only if there is at least one point to which it converges. And in analysis, all of you have studied that a convergent sequence must have a unique limit. But here, we are going to discuss that it's not necessary in case of topological spaces in general. For an example, if we are considering the indiscrete topological space, now consider any sequence. Let X is an infinite set. We selected a sequence from this set. Now select any element of X, say A, arbitrary element. If A is an arbitrary element of X, now for any open set, how many open sets are there which contains A? Only one, that is X itself, because we are discussing the indiscrete topological space. Okay, so the whole set X is there which contains A, and this whole set contains all the terms of the sequence. The sequence is in X. So we are having capital N is equal to 1, such that Xn belongs to G for all n greater than equal to 1. It means this sequence converges to A, but A is an arbitrary element of X. Hence, we can say that this sequence converges to every element of X, means it converges to infinite many elements. Okay, but in the next theorem we are going to prove that what is the necessary condition for a sequence to have a unique limit. And the result is there that every convergent sequence in a Hausdorff space has a unique limit. That if the space is T2, then the limit will be unique. And yesterday we proved that R is a T2 space. R is a T2 space. Okay. If R is a T2 space, if R is a T2 space, then earlier all the sequences studied by we or you people were on the real line or was in the real fields. So all the sequences were having unique limit because all the structures that we discussed up to now were T2. Okay, so we are with the proof that every convergent sequence in a Hausdorff space has a unique limit. Okay. Let's Xt be a Hausdorff space and Xn be a convergent sequence in X. If possible, then just assume that this sequence converges to two distinct elements X and Y. Now, space is given to be Hausdorff. It means there will exist two disjoint open sets, one containing X and the other containing H. And G intersection X should be 5. Now, Xn converges to X and X belongs to G. Use the definition. There must exist some number n naught such that Xn belongs to G for all n greater than n naught. Again, Xn converges to Y and Y belongs to H. So there exists some m naught such that Xn belongs to H for all n greater than m naught. Okay. Means what we are saying that after n naught all the terms are in G. After m naught all the terms are in H. Consider the largest of n naught and m naught. If n naught is 10 and m naught is 100, then we are saying that after the 10th term, all the terms are present in G. After the 100th term, all the terms are present in H. So we can say that after the 100th term, all the terms are present in G as well as H also. It means their intersection is not 5. Contradiction. Because G and H were selected to be the disjoint sets. Hence the limit should be unique. Okay. So if the space is T2, then the limit is unique. But converse of this is not true. That if the limit is unique, then space is T2. It's not necessary. However, there will be some extra condition, and after imposing those conditions, we will be able to say that yes, if this condition holds, and then the space is T2 if and only limit is unique. Here an example is discussed in which it is represented that the space is not T2, but still the limit is unique. Because this space does not satisfy that very condition. We will discuss later on. Okay, the next one. In this, we are having a sequence of distinct elements of a subset E. Okay, we are having a set E. And in each set, we consider the sequence x1, x2, xn. And just assume that this sequence converges to some x. Then x will be a limit point of E. What happened? E is a subset of x. We are having a sequence in E, something xn. All the members are present in E. And this sequence converges to some element x. Then that very x will be a limit point of E. And for this, Assume G is an open set containing X. Our target is we have to prove A intersection G minus X is not equal to pi. Now since Xn converges to X, so G contains infinite many terms of this sequence. It means there exists some positive integer n such that Xn belongs to G for all n greater than n. But these Xn's are member of E also, and these are present in G too. It means E intersection G. This set is an infinite set containing the infinite many terms of the sequence. So E intersection G minus X, it must be non-empty, and hence X is an infinite of it. Okay. So the next remark follows due to this theorem that Xn is a sequence of distinct points of a closed subset E of a topological space Xt, which converges to some X, then X is a limit point of it. Next one. Okay, this result was proved by you people in graduation also. That F is a continuous mapping if and only Xn converges to X, then Fxn converges to Fx. But here we are not proving the result for if and only, because to derive that result we need some extra condition as in the previous theorem we discussed. Later on we will prove the result for if and only. Here we only need to prove that F is a continuous mapping and Xn converges to X, then Fxn converges to Fx. So we are having a continuous mapping, a sequence that converges to X. We have to prove that the sequence of images converges to image of X. To prove this, let G star be an open set containing Fx. We have to prove that this G star contains infinite many terms of the sequence Fx. Since F is continuous, so F inverse G star is an open set, because inverse image of an open set under a continuous mapping is open. So F inverse G star is an open set containing X, and Xn sequence converges to X. So this open set F inverse G star must contain infinite many terms of this sequence. Therefore, there exists some positive integer n such that Xn belongs to F inverse G star for all n greater than n. It means we can say F of Xn belongs to G star for all n greater than n. Means the sequence Fxn converges to Fx. Okay. Next is the base at a point. We will discuss it in the next lecture. That's all for today. Okay. Anything from you people?